Hi, Jillian. Um, in order to build momentum for your sales, it's incredibly important to practice a strong approach before you move into the sales presentation. The approach isn't quite a time to sell your product, but rather to determine what it is that your prospect, what their needs are, as well as whether or not they're actually interested in solving these needs. Approaches do have an order to them. First, you want to build rapport and establish credibility before moving into why you set up this meeting and what you want to go over throughout your agenda. Then you want to do a trial close to see if the prospect actually wants to accept this agenda before moving into the questioning where you discover what their needs are. Skipping the approach is a massive handicap. Skipping the approach and moving directly into the sales presentation means you're moving into the presentation where you don't know what their specific individual needs are, making the presentation that much more difficult. A strong approach will impact the number of prospects that move forward in the sales process, and therefore the approach is incredibly important. Your goal of the approach is twofold. Firstly, to discover the needs of the prospect, and do note that there may be more than one. On average, there are just over 2 needs. And then the second goal is to discover whether or not they actually have interest in solving these needs. Whereas for your prospect, their goal is to discover whether or not they want to be moving forward with the sales process with you and your product. So the sales process can take, as we've established, more than one call. This generally will happen if there's a larger business, and specifically if you need to be calling and talking to multiple people. 5 tips for you. Firstly, use the spin sort of questioning, where you first ask about their general situation, and then you move into the specific questions to clarify the problem. Lastly, you ask what the implications of that problem is, and then lastly, you ask them if they actually have a need that needs to be filled. And secondly, you want to use open-ended questions to allow the prospect to have an open conversation with you so that you can listen to them for longer, which will help you discover their needs. However, thirdly, close-ended questions can be useful, but they're better at actually steering directions, just given that their answers are yes and no. Fourth, rephrasing sort of questions allow you to better clarify what it is that the prospect means and gives you a better understanding of what they're trying to say. Fifth, if you guys haven't found any sort of common ground and you're struggling to agree with your prospect, you can use redirect questions that allow you to ask, wouldn't you believe that, and then find something that you both agree on and then move from there. I hope that this helps, and best of luck in the rest of your approach.